What's up, everybody? It is PIxMatterShot, and we are bringing you the first installment of the Pernicious Intent podcast right after the Battlefield 3 beta ended just a couple days ago. To help me with this whole process, we have the founders, Inzane, PIxMoHRanger, Mr. Red, and myself. Now, please bear with us because this is our first time doing this, so it might seem a little rough, but we will definitely try to get through this as smooth as possible. And I will be handing it over now to Zane.
Hey everybody, PIxInzaNe here. You might have heard me from the video log I put up about a week ago. If not, I'm the founder of Pernicious Intent. Tonight we're just going to talk a little bit about the Battlefield 3 beta, what we liked, what we disliked, what we think could be changed, what we hope is changed in launch, and all that sort of fun stuff. First of all, I just want to get everyone's first general opinions on the Battlefield beta. What did it do good? What did it do bad? Just general. I'm going to throw that one over to PIxMoHRanger right quick. So if you could go ahead, give us a little insight on what you thought. You put up some good gameplay of jets, which has been featured on our site. So what do you think of the air combat? What do you think of the ground combat? What do you think of everything in general of Battlefield 3 so far?
Thanks, Zane. Well, Battlefield is an epic game, and when I say epic, I mean that the beta of Battlefield 3 alone has made me clock in 39 hours within the beta period. I found that really astonishing of how addicting Battlefield can be. Even though I have only played Battlefield Bad Company 2 prior to the beta, I can't really say how much I love Battlefield in general. Of the amount of destruction, the intensity it can offer, and in my opinion, no game can rival Battlefield 3 in terms of the game sounds, gameplay, teamwork, and the amount of enjoyment one can get while playing it. First of all, in the beta, the gun sounds is really realistic, and the realistic sound effect of every shrapnel a grenade gives when exploding is so great. Not to mention the environmental sounds that makes you indulge into the virtual warfare. Plus, the beta experience has been really amazing, especially Operation Metro. But I just wish that map could have been a little bit larger, because it's a Battlefield 3 map, of course. But it offers a great infantry warfare in rush mode. The lighting on every area is beautiful, and the scenery is great. But there's some minor bugs, like the terrain glitch and the dead body glitch, where it makes someone invisible, so you need to find that person's body and kill it. Those are the only annoying ones in my opinion. But these are minor bugs in my opinion, and they are already addressed to the developers. On the other hand, Caspian Border was also a great experience. I've had a lot of fun riding all those vehicles, especially the jets. Vehicle warfare is my favorite, and this game will fulfill that need. Overall, the beta has been a great experience, and if you want a recap of some jet dogfights from me, then visit the Pernicious Intent YouTube channel.
Alright, aside from mostly everything there, I pretty much covered almost everything in a short time. But I mean, what were some of everyone here? What were some of your favorite little moments that made you remember Battlefield, made you feel like, wow, this is Battlefield, as opposed to the staleness that you get from game in and game out of. I'm not just saying Battlefield. I'm not saying Call of Duty. I'm not saying Counter-Strike here. Just any game gives you, that stale factor. What made you say, yes, this is Battlefield for the beta?
I just think it was the recoil and the weapons is so much more pronounced over Bad Company 2 or any other game before it really, and the lighting effects were absolutely amazing.
Yeah, definitely there. The lighting really takes it to a next level. Ryan, what are some of your thoughts on the beta?
Well, I definitely think that it was a hell of a beta. I mean, given the fact that there was a shitload of bugs, glitches, and whatnot, but the one thing that we all definitely agreed on going into the beta, playing together as a community, was to look past what we knew was going to happen, and we knew that it was going to be buggy. The developers even said, "This is what's going on," and I think it made it a lot more fun for us. Just the fact that we looked over those problems, because if you even look on the forums on Battlelog, like look how many complainers there was, uh, and to be honest with you, that would have to be my number one complaint for this beta, was the amount of whiny kids complaining about things that it was like, this is a beta, this is what this game is, this is what it's out here for, exactly, to fix these problems, but all you do is complain, complain, and complain about the same thing. But going into what I really enjoyed about it, like memorable moments and stuff, right off the bat would have to be when Zane and I were in the air fighting jets, and we were flying side by side, and you would just look over, and it really, the game just has a way of just immersing you into the actual battlefield. Like you actually feel like you're there, you're fighting for your life every inch that you walk, every step that you take, and the sheer size of the maps. This is true Battlefield. I don't I don't even think that there's a Bad Company 2 map that could rival this. And the only reason I bring up Bad Company 2 and not something like 1942 and stuff is because a lot of gamers don't actually remember that from back in the day. And this is Battlefield 3 is a modern, very, very modern, popular shooter that's gonna get Battlefield 3 on the map for that reason alone.
Yeah, most definitely. I noticed when you said everyone complaining about the bugs that were happening when DICE said it was a beta. I mean, it's funny. I think DICE said it best when they said if you don't have a beta, people bitch and complain. But then you do have a beta, and all you get is flack for that you released a beta. And I mean, that seems to be the common trait: is they release a beta, and all they do is get told that their game is crap, and their game should be delayed, and their game should be, not even coming out on time or whatever, simply because of all the bugs. But people fail to realize that these builds are months old, weeks old. I mean, they even said the build was over a month old, mostly because they had to wait for console certification.
With with that being said, though, I don't know if you guys agree, but this hasn't been the best beta that I played. It's buggier than a lot of the other ones that I played. But with that being said, it's amazing how fun it actually was, even with all those bugs. And they did say it was months old, so you can imagine how the game will be when it's actually released.
Yeah, I really can't wait for the full game to be released, especially after playing Operation Metro a million times, getting bored with it. But all those other maps, I can't wait to get my hands on them.
Well, it's just not even me being bored with it. It's just it was your only option, right? You didn't have a choice on what you could play. I'm sure once the game releases and you get a feel for every map, you'll be all right with playing Operation Metro here and there, because there's 9 maps at launch, and I'm sure we'll be playing all of them, 64 player, 32 player, whatever we can get our hands on.
I'm actually going to have to interject there also, because this brought up a really good question that I have, and whoever wants to take it after this, feel free. But with Operation Metro being a lot more of a linear kind of gameplay map, and it really got compared to Call of Duty, and that bothered a lot of people. And I'm not going to sit here and bash Call of Duty. That's not what we as a community is about. But how do you guys feel that a lot of the COD fanboys and stuff really put their wise words of wisdom, you could say, into it, and how do you think that relates to the type of map that not Caspian Border, I'm sorry, that Operation Metro played like?
I don't really think it's a COD map. I think it's just not your traditional Battlefield map. I mean, the size of it, yeah, I mean, you look at a COD map in Operation Metro and the whole thing, I mean, it's 5 times the size of any COD map that you'll ever play. But I don't think it's not I mean, it just doesn't feel like a Battlefield map simply because there's no vehicles, but it feels more like a White Pass type map from Bad Company 2, sort of like White Pass, maybe even Cold War, which was in the VIP map pack. But like I said, it doesn't feel like COD. It just feels more of a gunplay map, like you were trying to say. I think more gun based than it is Battlefield as a whole game type of gameplay, you know?
I agree with that. People will probably say that Rush isn't, the top Battlefield experience. It's Conquest, and they did say on their releases that Conquest can be played on all 9 maps, right? So this map could possibly be bigger with Conquest.
Yeah, that's a good thing to point out, actually. They did say every map is able to be played, 64 players, 9 maps. Even Operation Metro is a 64-player conquest map, so, I mean, you could see choppers, you could see tanks, you could see anything on it. I mean, they released that destruction gameplay video a night or two ago, and I think they showed a tank rolling down the streets, blowing out a wall. I mean, like I said, that could be campaign gameplay, but it also, if it's multiplayer, that confirms tanks, at least in Operation Metro.
Yeah, speaking of vehicles, I just can't imagine how much time I'll be spending on jets, especially all the other kinds of jets like the 18 Thunderbolt, and it's the it's the most fun in my opinion, flying jets.
I saw the gameplay of that A10 Thunderbolt and the SU-35 Frogfoot, I think it was called, and looks like it's going to be quite the vehicle harassing airplane. Looked at I think Battlefield.com had some footage that they got to test out on Rush, and they were playing, and I mean, you could nosedive, shoot at a guy maybe 3, 4 full click bursts, and you'd end up taking out a M1 Abrams tank or a T90 tank. And I mean, if that's the case, I'd love to see you become an awesome jet pilot and help us out. Um, okay, aside from what we thought of the beta, what do you guys think of a day one patch? Do you think it's exactly necessary? Do you think it's gonna really change much at the beginning? Because I mean, they've already sort of hinted that there's a possibility of a day one patch, but they haven't confirmed it 100%. But I mean, they could be fixing things like, I know for a fact I saw Demise99 tweet that the high bullet damage when you sprint got fixed for sure. But do you think that's day one patch material, or do you think that's already been patched for the final build that they released? I think their final build was finished on last week on Thursday, they said.
I'm pretty sure all the bugs that we saw in the beta, they've taken care of about 95% of them. Uh, Little ones like on Caspian Border when you're driving a Jeep and you run through shallow water and it kicks you out of the Jeep, but your Jeep keeps going. I think that's little things that they may have overlooked, but you never know.
Yeah, and I think that it would it'd be really unrealistic to sit there and have all your prayers on a day one patch. I know a lot of games get it, and I was reading on it, and not being a PC gamer when Bad Company 2 came out for the PC and Xbox, but a lot of people claim that that game was unplayable on day one, and a lot of people were resting on the hopes of a day one patch saving it all. And I'm not gonna sit there and say, oh, the game's gonna be broken day one, because we won't know that until on the 25th. But I think with how big this game is, the developers really are gonna be pushing hardcore to make sure that it is really playable on day one, just for the fact of how much marketing and hype is going into this, especially when you're directly competing with what Modern Warfare 3 is gonna be, which you haven't heard anything really about that game either. But I think a lot of the bugs and stuff is gonna be worked out. And going on the the weapon damage, I was actually watching a commentary earlier, which is one of the members of D Crew, who's they do a lot of work with "Don't Revive Me, Bro" and whatnot. So I'm sure their word can be taken for it. But he did say that the one shot kill with the sprint is 100% fixed, and they actually did put out damage characteristics out there for assault rifles and snipers and whatnot, and I'm sure we can throw that in a link to find that chart. I'll just have to go find it when that time comes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you guys. I'm not saying that it's 100% necessary. I mean, if necessary, it would be good to have a day one patch, but like I said, not 100% necessary. Aside from a day one patch, what did you? There was that destruction gameplay that released, considering ground destruction wasn't in the beta, what do you think that'll do to PC players and their lovely, lovely graphics cards and their $1,000 rigs that they built? How do you think that's going to affect them? Do you think that's going to take a huge toll? Do you think it's going to be something minor? Or do you think performance that you saw in the beta is pretty much going to reflect what you get in the final product?
Well, what did you read about tessellation? Because I wasn't 100% clear on that when you told me about it.
Well, I can't confirm this, but I read on a forum, I think it was battlefieldo.com. They're pretty insider with DICE, not as insider as, Jinto, the community manager, would be, but they're pretty close. They got to test a lot of stuff that we didn't even get to see or hear about on the beta. And they were saying on their forum that tessellation was for backdrop and mountains and pretty much everything that's not inside the map that you actually play. So when you're flying around in jets, how all the mountains and everything look so clear. Like I said, I can't confirm that, but it could be true. I mean, I don't want to say that it's not true and then have it be like that. I mean,
Yeah, I just wish that Tessellation is on the day one, on the release date, because I noticed on Caspian border was out when I was flying, the sky looked like it was a painting along with the mountain. But I really hope that they'd release the Tessellation with it, and I have high hopes with it. So
I guess my take on that would have to be I don't want a day one patch, but that is because you all know my internet situation here, and it'll take about 3 years to download that patch if it's a big one. But I hope everything's included with it that they said. Personally, to take what the beta was like and reflect that upon what the retail version will be like, I would hope that uh, how it performs, at least on my system, and we all here pretty much have pretty similar systems to a degree, except for either all of you are running a single high card like 570, 580, or are SLIing 560 Ti's. But I know personally, as the person in this community that has one of the lower end setups with just a single 560 Ti, that I was getting pretty solid frames. Now, given coming from the Xbox, I was used to playing Bad Company 2 at 30 frames a second, and that was the average. Here on high settings, on all high, nothing else tampered with, I was getting an average of anywhere from 45 to 60 frames, and that is outdoors too. Indoors would be upwards of 65, 70, depending on what is actually happening in front of me on the screen. So somebody like me who was able to build a system in the nick of time for the beta, I'm actually really satisfied with how they coded the game or whatever performance optimizations that they did, and like I said, I really hope that carries over. Will tessellation be a system killer? We'll have to see. And like you said, that wasn't 100% factual, but it could be. If tessellation is more of a background thing, then that could save somebody like me in that situation. But if it's in your face, it could be a system killer a little bit. But then at the same time, you really have to look at it. If they're optimizing the system and they say they rewrite the code, they rewrite the net code like every other day, things are changing on a constant basis. You never know what the final product's going to be like, and on the 25th we're sure as gonna hell find out.
yeah, that's true. I think what I didn't really understand about the background tessellation is when you see tessellation in programs like 3D Mark or Unigine Heaven or any benchmark that gives you sort of a 3D render visual, tessellation doesn't really take place in the background. That's why I don't really know if it's 100% true. But nonetheless, if the beta had no tessellation enabled on it, then I don't see. Like honestly, the game visually looks stunning to me. Like I sitting here watching this gameplay of how we played on Caspian border during the beta, and it just honestly like it shocks me at how great everything looks from what's going on in the battlefield to the fire in the mountains and the explosions that go off and the ambient jets in the background that aren't even a part of the game but they're still there. It all looks amazing, and I mean if this wasn't even I mean they said there wasn't even a true high or true ultra setting on this, so I mean I can try ultra. I probably won't be running ultra when the game comes out, but I'll be trying it. I mean in the beta it didn't have much of a difference, but like I was saying with tessellation, it's not really a background thing. Like tessellation is made to, give bricks that brick look and to give cobblestone that cobblestone look as opposed to that flat texture. Like if you were to play Operation Metro and you see the sandbags that you can take cover behind, you look at them close up and it's just one flat texture and like obviously when you're in the heat of the moment you're not looking at small things like that, but when you take a minute and just look up close to it, it really makes it look like crap. But that's what tessellation is supposed to, bring into the mix. It's supposed to make each one of those sandbags looks like it's stacked on top of each other, as opposed to one flat texture that looks like it's, just put together with any type of texture blender, I guess you could say.
Well, I guess we'll have to see when it comes out. But personally, I ran everything on high for the whole beta, and even without tessellation, the game looked amazing. So you can only imagine what it would be if tessellation was for environmental things like sandbags and cobblestone and whatnot.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree with you 100% there. I mean, like I was saying, it's already beautiful, it's already stunning, it's amazing, and if it can get any better, I can only it's like eyegasms every time you look at it. And I mean, just to play it, like when you're playing it, it feels like Ryan was saying, it makes you feel like you're immersed into the game. It makes you feel like you're taking that step. You're like when you blow up a tank, just the feeling. Like I'm not saying the sound effects or just the way they made it feel when you blow up that tank makes it feel like you actually blew up a tank. Not that I know what blowing up a tank feels like, but it adds depth to the game, and it really puts it on another level as opposed to Battlefield Bad Company 2 where you blew up a tank, it wasn't really instantaneous and it sort of felt delayed. But this one, your RPG hits the tank, it blows up, you get that shockwave out of it, and it feels like it's just everything is there and it's complete. And it's only a beta.
Yeah, speaking of destruction of vehicles, the only downside I have for it is the disabled jets, how it's only 50% and then you can't do anything about it. Probably you can probably use that extinguisher perk for vehicles, but if you don't have that, you're gonna have a hard time flying.
Yeah, I
Now,
agree. I
when
think
you're
there. I didn't. I'm not sure if it was dice quoted, but I remember people saying they were hoping it would change to at least like 35% for jets, which would. I mean, I'm not here saying jets are overpowered. I think jets are very balanced. I mean, the only thing that I would complain about jets is that when you're flying them, you get locked on too easily. But then again, that can be countered by becoming a better pilot, because that's just not me. I'm terrible.
I actually have a question about the vehicle disable thing. You guys all know that I'm not much of a driver of any type of vehicle, but when you get disabled, do you get some kind of notification when you're driving that you are disabled, or you just can't move?
When you're driving a vehicle, you have the vehicle health bar, which is initially blue, and when you get disabled, it turns orange. So, like if you're in a jet, you have 100% health, you're flying around, you get locked on and you're down to 48%, it turns orange and it shows the 48%. And then once you're disabled, I don't know, I think it's maybe every second or every 2 seconds, you get 2% taken off your vehicle health.
So it's color coded, and I probably shouldn't be driving a vehicle. That's what you're saying.
I guess that would affect you most, yeah, most likely.
Wonderful.
But going on that, I'd have to say like I could have said this before and what I loved about the beta and whatnot, what I love about the game in general, but that would have to be the vehicle side of things. And I did find a problem with the jets being disabled a lot faster, and whether or not it's that way because of balance issues or whatever it may be, I did notice that they are more than likely going to have to tune some of the things with vehicle being disabled for the main fact that I know, Zane, when you and I were playing a little bit, I would shoot an RPG at the back end of a Jeep or something, and I would think that an RPG hitting a Jeep would just one shot it. It wouldn't be like a vehicle disable, and then Goldilocks and her boyfriend just get out of the cart and run into the forest together, frolicking, and then you have to chase down the kills. Um, do you guys think that that's something that will be fixed? Do you think that, for instance, say if you shoot a couple rockets at a tank, it's disabled. Normally it takes, I would say, depending on where you hit it, two or more rockets to actually finish the thing off. Do you guys like how slow or fast in your mind that it actually takes to disable vehicles in general, or do you wish that they would go down a bit faster in some cases?
I mean, I think the tanks. I was just watching here on the gameplay that we're showing, and I was driving a tank, and I just got destroyed by probably three guys working together to take out my tank. All engineers, of course, but I mean, they took me out in a matter of 15 to 20 seconds. And the way I look at it, if you're playing in a 64-player server and you're in a tank, if you're gonna go and kamikaze yourself, so to speak, into the middle of the combat zone, you're gonna take that punishment. You're gonna take it quick because I mean, Battlefield Bad Company 2, when we were playing it initially on the Xbox, there's only 24 people. So I mean, if you have four engineers in a game, you're lucky because everyone plays recon and everyone plays medic. And I mean, not many people, even if they're playing engineers, they don't really focus on taking out a vehicle because they more so focus on killing, killing, killing. And in a 64-player server, I mean, Caspian Border, you could easily say that out of the 32 people that are on each side, easily 15 or more of those people were playing engineers. So you'd see tanks go down in the matter of seconds. But I think the only thing that I agree with 100% with what you said is Jeeps. Jeeps should be taken out instantly if a rocket propelled grenade or a tank or anything hits them. Because there was, again, in this gameplay that I'm broadcasting here, there was a time, two times I think, where I saw a Jeep coming into, I'm driving a T90 tank and a Jeep comes up to me, I shoot it, I get vehicle disabled. And then I shoot it again and I get the kill, obviously, but I should get that kill initially. It's a Jeep, it's not like an armored car. If it was an armored car, I could totally understand, but it's a Jeep.
I agree with that. Jeep should be blown up in one shot. But with the tank situation, I think everything will be a lot more balanced because in the beta, it seems like every class has some kind of perk or weapon where you can disable vehicles. Like the support class has C4 and mortars, and I'm sure recon class has it too. I think the only class that doesn't have anything where you can effectively disable a vehicle is the medic assault class.
Yeah, I agree. On that part of the tank, if you really want to have fun and kill a lot of people, you really have to strategize. You don't go head first with a tank. That's just not strategic at all. You probably have to need another engineer with you, and that way you could last longer. But if you're not an engineer and your passenger isn't, another great addition they added is the regeneration of vehicles. But it takes a little bit of time, and you can't be disabled. But I think that's a really good addition that they added.
Yeah, and I'm gonna butt in front of you real quick, Zane, and say that that's another thing that I absolutely loved, which is not what you said, but the fact that when your vehicle gets damaged enough and it catches on fire, it slowly degrades the health of the vehicle. And I think that is such a realistic approach to take on vehicles and make it that much more fulfilling and skill-based to actually play with one. Now, to go on with what the vehicle health, me personally, don't I don't really agree with health regeneration. The only thing that I could imagine in my mind where that would be like okay with me is if like the vehicle is obviously disabled or whatever, but let's say that it just sits there forever. And I think that's the only time it would be okay where like it just boosts you just to the enough percentage right above where it was disabled so you can actually move it again. Just for the fact that I just don't see the point of how does armor fix itself over time?
I think they more so did that for jet gameplay more than anything. I mean, like in my mind, it makes 100% sense that if you're in a jet and you're in a dogfight and another jet shoots you and it only does 18 damage to you and you kill him, you should be able to, without landing, repair. Personally, I think that just for the sake of keeping the flow of the game. There's only 2 jets in the game per side. I mean, at any given time. I think that's what they said. Even on the largest maps, which we don't know, Caspian Border could be something completely different. But I know they said that there's 2 jets, so but I mean, I think that was more a jet gameplay thing, but I don't think it fits well on tanks like you were saying. I'm not saying it hurts the gameplay though. Like there's times where I think they added it more so because vehicle damage, like you were saying, it depletes over time if you're disabled. So I think they added the regenerating thing so you're not disabled just as like a countermeasure. Like, okay, if we're gonna make it deplete, and if you're disabled, we're going to make it regenerate if you're not disabled. You know what I mean? Like to sort of counteract one another.
Yeah, I understand. The only thing that I look at that is like, what's I see the point of having engineers and being able to have toolkits, and I also noticed this because I primarily played an engineer in the beta, and I was playing it on Operation Metro before I even got the chance to hop into Caspian Border, which we were all lucky enough uh, to play on the early release of it, the time before they took it down, and we got to play it for like 20 minutes or so. But the repair tool is actually replaceable with AT mines, and I think that's a great idea for balance wise. But going on with vehicle regeneration, that's almost like saying, "Hey, I'm an engineer. Let me just go tap you with my magic wand, and your vehicle health is going to regenerate, and I can go run off in the battle, but I'll still get points for it." It kind of defeats the purpose in my eyes of what's the point of vehicle health when the whole premise of the battlefield is to work together as a unit while advancing towards your objectives or your goals or flags or whatever it may be in the game, for that to be there. Now, the jet regeneration for the health, I 110% agree with that. That should be there to a certain degree. I mean, personally, I think it has no place on the actual battlefield through motorized vehicles on the ground.
Yeah, I think it kind of takes out the strategic planning of engineers and repair tools. Like, why would they put that in there if the vehicle is going to regenerate itself?
Well, the only reason I see it is because I mean I played like a lot in tanks. Like I was mostly focused myself on infantry. Like I flew a bit. I flew quite a bit, but most of what I was doing when I was playing Caspian Border was jeeps, tanks, and a lot of infantry combat. And what I noticed is, I mean, your tank would regenerate at like 80% and above, I think. Maybe it was 75%. But, I mean, I had tank co-pilots and they would never jump out and repair me, but I'd be jumping out and repairing myself. And I think that, I don't know, I don't think it's bad to have vehicle regeneration because there are those times where you don't have that person to repair you at all times. I mean, yeah, you can say Battlefield is built for team, but there's also that time where you're playing by yourself and, there's people that just don't want to listen to how you want to play. I mean, no matter what game you get, you're going to get those types of players, and I think that's just to sort of help the engineer. I don't think it really detracts from the gameplay all that much because, like I said, if you have an organized group of engineers, you're going to take a tank out in less than 5 seconds if you guys all shoot once. Because it takes 3 in the back to take out a tank, no problem. And I don't know, I just don't look at it as unbalanced or anything. I look at it as an addition that was just made, and for the better, I don't know. For the worse, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, every to each is their own. That's definitely the point of this podcast is so we all have different opinions on it, and at the end of the day, we're all playing together, and that's the most important thing. Whereas this is just a debate. But I guess moving on from the vehicle side of things, how I know that Mo Ranger played the living crap out of the support class, where I believe Red actually found his new true love there, and Zane, I believe, was playing Assault, where I was playing Engineer, and I did see Zane playing Engineer here and there, but uh, for each of your own opinions, how do you feel the class balance is, and how did you like the weapons and whatnot?
My favorite weapon and my favorite class is undoubtedly support. M249 is, I think, the best LMG you'd ever have because of the clip size you get and the rate of fire, but you can't really spray it at long ranges. So it's better to do short bursts, as always with any weapon. But I like how the support class has the C4, has the Claymore, because it really helps out the team as well as the ammo pack. I think it's a really great class, but it's also balanced to the other classes, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with the support class being very well balanced. Personally, my favorite, I really like the medic, but I thought I sort of stopped playing it halfway through the beta because everyone on my team was a medic, which was assault, and I mean, I played assault through Bad Company 2, both on PC and on Xbox, and I mean, I love assault rifles, I love grenade launchers, I love everything about the assault class, but it's overplayed on the beta. Like, it felt overplayed, at least. It seemed like I'd always be looking around for ammo or like anything that wasn't to do with my class. And that's not to say that the people I was playing with weren't giving me ammo. It's just when I'd be by myself, or if we were on separate teams, there'd be nobody except my teammates that I play with on a regular basis that would be giving me ammo. So I switched it up between a little bit of everything, but overall, I think my favorite class is leaning towards an engineer right now because I like the use of a lot of the all kit weapons. You can switch up an M4, or you can use a UMP 45, or you can switch it up to a shotgun. I like the versatility they made in all the classes as opposed to restricting you to only one weapon type. How they did in Bad Company 2, like I knew that you could use I know you could use a shotgun with every class. I know you could use like the M14 with every class, but it didn't really give you options. It was like, you have this one gun, which is the M14, and then you have these three shotguns, and you have a G3. Whereas in this you have a AK-47, or you have an M4, or you have an UMP 45, or the PW or PDWR, or you have this huge assortment of weapons as opposed to a list of all submachine guns, one shotgun, and one assault rifle, and one bolt rifle. And I mean, everything aside, weapon-wise, I think engineer is the most fun. I mean, taking out vehicles, like I said earlier, is really rewarding. It just feels like you're accomplishing something, and I mean, helping your team repair vehicles. Vehicles are huge in Battlefield.
Yeah, I'm like you, Zane. I started out playing the medic class, but then it seemed like nobody wanted to drop ammo, so I switched to support. And ever since I started playing support with the saw, I was doing really well. But after unlocking the UMP, just that weapon alone, I could see myself playing any other class just because of how good that weapon was for me. And the fact that the all class weapons, like that's about the only one that I unlocked and used, but it seems like all of them that you unlock are, just as good as the other weapons in that class.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. And one thing that Battlefield did, or DICE, or EA, whatever the representatives were, that said is it's an ever-changing battlefield, and that's really true. And if you look at a map like Caspian Border itself, it's such an engaging map where one minute you're fighting in a forest, and then your squad mates call for help at Hilltop, and then you're on top of, like a little mini mountain, or whatever it is. It's not a mountain, but it's definitely it overlooks a lot of the battlefield. Or then you're fighting at checkpoint, which is a lot of clutter, a lot of downed vehicles slash cars. I know that there's a building in there, and they said that this isn't really a battlefield that you're gonna be able to take one class and just do it all like you were in others. Um, and that's what I agree with Red saying about the UMP 45 is that he found a weapon that I do believe, like you said, it's on all classes, and that really gives him a chance to shine as a versatile player. Where it's like, hey, somebody's not dropping ammo, we need ammo here or there. So he goes, okay, well, I'm a beast with this gun. I'm gonna switch classes. I'm gonna go help my team out the way he can. And we need help taking out tanks, Zane and I. It's okay, let me hop on this class, and I got that, and that's definitely a problem. That's a good thing that I said, but it's a problem in the sense that in the beta, people definitely were not dropping ammo the way that they should. There's some health packs. I didn't even see too many of those because I think a lot people played pretty selfish in the beta. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not.
Yeah, I agree with that 100% actually. Um, Not too much teamwork going on. I mean, there's flashes of it, like I said, when, there'd be a tank entering the zone or a jet flying over, you'd have a lot of teammates doing that, but I mean, aside actually working as a team, taking flags together, defending each other, and using vehicles together to your advantage, dropping health packs, dropping ammo, even using like an EOD bot or using a MAV or I mean anything you had to your use. It wasn't really put to use in a team perspective. It was put to use more like, okay, I want to try this, which I mean is a good thing. I mean it makes everyone test everything, but I mean the core team play mechanics need to be tested as well. And I mean I think a lot of groups were focused on doing that, but I'm sure if any team play bugs need to be worked out or any team play issues in general, they'll be worked out with patches, of course. But I mean, like the great thing about being on PC is the game is ever changing and you never have to wait and wait and wait for updates. You're going to be getting updates on a constant basis, and at least a word from the community manager like Shinto is pretty outspoken and everything.
Yeah, speaking of in-game pros and cons, what do you guys think about how you get in a game, which is battle log?
Oh man, that's a hot button issue right here. I hate it. I think I like the concept of it. I think it's a great concept, but I just think they took it too far by making it that your only option. Like, I like the idea where that I can go to this website and I can look at all my stats and compare them with my friends and compare them with my platoon members, and I can go and talk on a forum and I can post videos, and I like that. I like that Facebook feel to it. I'm not a big Facebook fan. I use it as an everyday thing because I'm used to it, but it I don't know, it's just I don't like being forced to use something that I don't think is beneficial. I mean, I always liked the fact on PC where I could just load up the game and find a server, and I mean, Battlelog even limits you by not allowing you to change your settings, but supposedly they've changed that. You can change your settings through Battlelog. But I mean, I don't know. I think they took it to an extreme and they sort of forced it at you, as opposed to saying, hey, here's Battlelog. There's a way to do it. You can either join through a server, or you can join through in-game server browser, or you can join through Battlelog, as opposed to, here's Battlelog, you have to do it like this.
Cough, cough, Origin.
Yeah, the problem I have with Battlelog is that it's open in the browser. So what if you really want to play the single player, but you don't have internet? See, that's the problem there. So I think they should really incorporate it inside the game, how you can start up the game without going to the browser and stuff.
That's actually a huge point to bring up. I didn't even think of that. What if you don't have internet? I mean, that's been a problem for games like I played what was it? StarCraft 2 actually. I played that game and that has the DRM factors like Assassin's Creed does on PC, and I suppose now Battlelog can be considered DRM for Battlefield 3, which is pretty much locking users out unless they have authentic copies of the game, which, I mean, it does stop pirating to a degree, but pirating is going to be inevitable no matter what. I mean, people are going to want your game for free, and I don't know. I just think developers forcing this, I mean, it's good for them, 100%. I think it's good for developers. I mean, they're entitled to all the money that the game makes. I think they should be paid more, all that sort of thing. I mean, they make amazing games. They make our lives more enjoyable by putting out products that we can sit on our ass and enjoy for hours and hours and hours as a group. And but like you said, being able to play offline, like I couldn't even think about that, and it honestly it blows my mind even more because like I said, that happened with me in StarCraft. My internet went out one night, tried to play StarCraft 2, and it's like, oh, this requires a connection to Battle.net, and I was like, okay, that's great. I just bought this game a week ago and I can't even play it now because I forgot to authenticate myself while I was online. And it's just frustrating because, like you said, I paid money for this game. I should be able to play it when I want.
I just can't for the life of me understand why when you launch the game, it launches a browser. I agree with what you said, like the whole concept of going to a website and meeting up with people and seeing stats and all that, that's great. But that shouldn't be where you organize squads and look for servers and launch games. Like that just does not make any sense to me. That's a feature that should be in the game. Like if when you launch the game it takes you to a web browser, why is Origin required to play the game? I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Um, this whole would you guys have preferred if it came out on Steam as opposed to Origin? I mean, I know a lot of us are Steam users. I had Steam since the first day it released. I was a beta user, and I know Ryan was a Steam user for a long time. But I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think it should have come out on Steam? Would you have pre-ordered it on Steam? What do you think?
I personally like Steam better than Origin, but I'm still behind the fact that if you launched it on Steam and it took you to a web browser, it would still be just as pointless as it is right now. Like, I have no problem with Origin. It's pretty much the same thing as Steam except through EA. I have no problem with that. It's just the whole Battlelog web browser server looking for everything there just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, and then to jump in on this, to take a step back, actually, in my view on Battle Log is I don't want to sit there and I say I hate it. It's definitely not pointless. The way that it's incorporated for you to find servers, the way that the server list is actually set up, the way that the filters work, it's ridiculous. Like there's no reason why you cannot have an application that's even built into the game that launches when you actually launch the game that goes, okay, when for instance, when I wake up in the morning and I get my whatever I need to get done, I come on my computer, I'll check my Facebook. It's one of the first things that I always do. Now, if let's say it's the 25th or the 26th, everything's installed, ready to go. I click the icon to bring up Battlefield, and it launches. There's nothing wrong in my mind with you launching a browser that's Battlelog. That's the exact same thing as what Facebook is except for it's made for gamers like us for that specific game that tracks everything and you can socialize on there. There's forums on there. I think it's amazing, amazing idea to really bring a community together in that aspect. That's perfect. But when you're gonna sit there and say this is the only way that you're allowed to play this game, this is the only way that you're allowed to make squads, this is the only way that you're joining servers, you're filtering your stuff, you're putting your information up there. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Do you know Origin? I don't know if you guys ever heard of GameSpy. It's it was a server browser client that would work for numerous games back in the early 2000s. It was by the people who do File Planet, and I don't know if you guys remember it, but Origin feels like a modern day version of GameSpy, which was sponsored. I don't know if it was sponsored, but it was affiliated with Digital Illusions, which is DICE, when they made Battlefield 1942 and Battlefield 2, and whenever I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think in Battlefield 1942 or Battlefield 2 you had to log in using a GameSpy ID initially if you didn't have an EA Soldier ID. So it just reminds me of a glorified version of GameSpy, and I thought GameSpy was honestly utter trash back in the day, and that's the only reason I guess why I feel the same way for Battlelog, is because it just reminds me of another crap product that failed, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I used the GameSpy network back when I first got into first-person shooters on the computer, which was back in the Command and Conquer Renegade days. If any of you people listening to this has ever played that, then you would know. Um, and then to go furthermore onto what I was talking about before about the Steam slash Origin comparison, I think Origin it definitely is a marketing scheme for EA and for the products they put out there. The only thing that I like better about it, more than I do Steam, is just the fact that things can be patched a lot faster than what it would be on Steam because they have to actually go through another company or organization, whatever it is, that to actually get the patches out there faster. And personally, that's one thing that I love about it, coming from the Xbox, is it doesn't take 3 years to actually get a problem worked on, unlike it did there.
Yeah, that's the only downside to well, I'd say that's the biggest major downside to online gaming on a console, is having to go through console certification to get patches and just games rolled out in general. It seems like it's just a hassle and a lot of time consumed on really a process that should take not that long. I mean, you look at the quality of PC games that release, and then you look at the quality of Xbox and PS3 games that release, and I mean, it's not like you play on PC and you see how much of a crappier version of the product it is because it hasn't been thoroughly tested or certified by a certain company like Microsoft or Sony. But moving forward, speaking of Steam and Origin, rumor mill is moving along quick again. Supposedly, EA and Steam are in talks of distributing BF3 on Steam. This is unconfirmed. It's going around the internet on a few websites. Battlefield O is where I found it out, and I've read it on Eurogamer and other sites. Again, not confirmed, just a rumor I'm spreading out there.
Wasn't that rumored also a few, like maybe a month ago by another website? I can't remember.
I think that's when it initially got put out there, but I think it's becoming more, becoming, it's coming to fruition, I guess I could say.
Putting taking that in from what you said, I also have to sit there and think like, what's the point of that though? To a degree, if I have to launch the game through Origin, not either way in that situation, then I would have the choice: do I want to go the Origin route or do I want to go the Steam route? Uh, Really, what's the point of being on Steam to a degree, except for that's something that a lot of people seem to be more comfortable with than having Origin installed on their computer if they're just going to be primarily playing Battlefield 3. Given that EA is trying to, or already has, distributing all their products through that that client, what's to say that when Battlefield 3 is on Steam, you're just launching it through Steam? It still is going to have to bring up Battlelog since that's the central hub for absolutely everything. It's not going to really make a difference if it's on Steam at that point because let's say we're all four on Steam or somebody's trying to get a hold of you or whatever. It's like, cool, you sent me a Steam message. I'm on Battlelog. You can send it to me there too. Unless it was, just a launch client from Steam, how it is with every other game. I could see it working if Battlelog wasn't necessarily like a standalone thing. If server browsing and squad management and whatnot is more integrated into the game itself.
Well, I think it would be better on Steam for the people who have other games on there, so they don't have to, keep changing services just to play certain games. I also think the whole chat system in Steam is a little bit better. I think what is it, Alt Shift or Alt Tab? You can bring up your chat boxes and see who's online, and I just think it's better for that. But if you're going to launch Battlelog, it really only makes sense to the people who have other games on Steam. Because if you're going to launch Battlelog, then it doesn't really make a difference what service you're running.
That's true. That's actually a pretty overlooked point that people should be taking note of. I mean, I look at around the net, all you see, honestly, if you look hard enough and if you read enough Battlefield websites and Battlefield forums, the main concern people have over the game, other than the fact that they're raging over the beta, is Origin. Origin seems to be everyone's number one I don't want to buy this reason, is because they're forced to use Origin. And I think that's mainly because when they initially announced that it would be available only on Origin, there was a clause in their terms of service saying that if you didn't use a game for, I think it was a 3-year period, the game would be considered disabled and disactivated or deactivated from your account. But since then, they've reshaped their terms of service or their end user license agreement or whatever it was that stated that, and they even have it on the Origin website. If you check out the FAQ, it says there are no clauses with the EA Origin account saying that you're going to lose access to a game. But, like PIxMoHRanger was saying, single player campaigns shouldn't be restricted to internet access only. I mean, that's a main concern for gaming in general. I mean, there's times where, you know, your internet goes out, or there's times where you're on your laptop or whatever, and you don't have access to a Wi-Fi hotspot or something, and you can't, or you just want to play single player, and your cat or your dog knocks out your internet cable. There's no way for you to get into that game, so to speak, unless you have the internet connection. And I mean, you paid $60 for this game, why can't you play it? Because you didn't pay your internet bill? I mean, your internet bill shouldn't dictate whether you can play a game or not. But again, moving sort of away from Battlefield 3 specifically, have you guys seen anything new and exciting in PC hardware? Have you guys heard Bulldozer chips launched today? New AMD processors.
I actually did hear that. I just watched an unboxing video of your guy Linus up there in Vancouver. Got really excited, and I think within the next maybe month or two, I might pick one up, depending on how the reviews are. And if it's that much better than what I'm currently have now, then it seems worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Also, AMD is coming out with their new GPUs couple weeks. 7 series, I think that's coming out end of the month or early November, I think that was. And the 7 series using new RAM. Don't know if anybody checks that out, but check out Tom's Hardware. Lots of information over there about the new AMD chipset out, the processor and the GPUs coming out. I think that's pretty much everything that we wanted to talk about here on our first podcast from Pernicious Intent. You guys should subscribe to us on YouTube at www.perniciousIntent.com. Oh, sorry, that's our website. youtube.com/perniciousIntent, facebook.com/pernintent, twitter.com/pernintent. All will be linked at the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned, and we'll be putting out more videos. Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye-bye.